So here I am again with another video. In this video, I'm showcasing how I made dreams in FL Studio. I already created the segment that walks through everything. I made a few mistakes. Most of them have been edited out, but one that I'm not going to edit out because I'm lazy and I don't want to put forth the effort of re-recording the whole segment again. Where I said in the video, I state that as music fades in at the end, well, music doesn't fade in at the end. It may fade in at the beginning, but it doesn't fade in at the end. It fades out. So I'll probably just put like some kind of thought bubble or something with text that says I meant to say fade out in final post. So anyway, let me pull up the project and let's take a look. So here we are in one of my favorite AW, I never remember the abbreviation for it, FL Studio, let's just call it that. ADW, there we go, I knew there was 3 letters that I needed to remember. Anyway, this is where any piece of music I write, I do it normally in FL Studio. Now the practice session videos, majority of those are done in GarageBand on my Mac, and then I just set up the webcam on my tripod and point it at my keyboard, and well, you know the rest. But when it comes to writing music, if I'm going to score the music for sheet music, then I work with FL Studio and GarageBand together. Usually the pianos in GarageBand like really suck. The MIDI ones that are available for free really suck. And to get the really nice high quality like studio quality instruments are very expensive, and I don't have thousands of dollars to just throw away. So I get what I can for what I can afford when I can afford to do it. And most of what I need is all available in one of my favorite plugins. This is the plugin I use, called Nexus. I want to get the newest version, but I don't have $300 to fork out right now, so I just use the version I have now. And the majority of the instruments that I used for this all derived from the XP Dance Orchestra pack. And then the rest, hold on. Yeah, I think all of them came from this, just one whole pack. The only thing in here that is not an instrument is... Let me bring that back up. Literally, it's the only note in this entire piano roll is just the chimes right there. And the chimes are just an MP3 sampled in that sound like that. Since I right now am currently recording, can you hold on 1 second? Let me check. Yeah, it is. Okay, I just was checking to see if it OBS showed that it was capturing the desktop audio here. So anyway, the chimes that you hear at the beginning are just sampled in. So let me show you. So no matter what key I hit on the keyboard, we'll always sample at the same pitch and the same tempo every time. So now that you know how those chimes are played in, let me explain how I break all the music down. When I wrote the music, I always start off with, okay, what am I going to do for my intro? And then from there, how am I going to transition into... Since everything I write is orchestral and instrumental, I am not a lyricist. I can't write lyrics to save my life. I find a way to transition into like a first section. In a song, it would be classified as the first verse. And then I go from there to figure out how can I create a bridge. And then from there, go into another section. Well, in this, I just went from a intro to the first section to a bridge, and then from there I went into a second section, which is just made up of patterns from the first section, and then that just fades out slowly to the end. So it allows me to export it out with about a 2 to 3 second delay at the beginning. So if I was to like throw this on a CD with other tracks, there'll be that delay between the tracks. But when I first start writing the music, let me, hold on, select, is normally shifted like that, where everything starts off. So when I hit play, it instantly starts playing the music. I don't have to wait for those 2 or 3 seconds. Move everything back. There we go. So let me show you how the first section here, the intro, is broken down. I started the harmony and the first section prior to actually building the pattern for the intro. I'm known for sort of doing things a little out of sequence, but in the end it's all there in my head anyway. I like to do the hard things first, get them out of the way, and then build the easy patterns. So to show you the difficulty in doing this, when I first started writing this pattern, because this piece of music was played to a metronome in real time, and there was a lot of editing of notes. I don't want to move notes physically around in here that are here already, so let me just like paint a note with the mouse. I can easily move them through the grid and fix and quantize all those mistakes, because when you play to a metronome live, you tend to sometimes miss a beat by a 16th or an eighth of a note, and there's no time to go start over every single time you screw up. Why do that? It's MIDI. Screw up, keep playing, and fix it in the end. That's what I say. So I ran into a bit of a problem, and it took like 3 or 4 tries of getting this intro to work, because I may have piano fingers, but I have carpal tunnel syndrome, so my hands will only spread and can only spread for so long. So I started off the intro thinking I could go like this. Oops, So notice how I have to use two hands here. I have the microphone to the left of me and I'm keyboard to the right of me, so I'm like in a very uncomfortable, you could never play the piano in this position. Yeah, so see how, there we go, far I have to spread my fingers in order just to get those first 2 notes. So I said, oh, the hell with that. So I finally, after like a couple tries of playing, just the first 2 bars, I went, okay, screw this. We're gonna go on ahead and just play with 2 hands and make this a hell of a lot easier. So I ended up going like this. Yeah, it's been a while since I played this. It's been 2 years since I played that, so I don't remember the fingering exactly. But I remember that last set of 3 notes, I couldn't even do it. In real time, every time I tried, I kept screwing it up. So I just painted the notes for those last 3, going, hey, it's like writing the music on paper. Just screw it, I'll use the mouse. That way I don't have to keep trying and then just adjust them in the grid here, and it played flawlessly. So when I was done, let me play, and you can sample what just the intro sounds like visually. When you look at the grid, you'll see how long each note plays. And the way I have the grid set up right now, let me count these out. So each little square in between these thick lines represents an 8th note. And everyone knows you just go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then bar 2, 1 and 2 and. So after very quickly playing that to a metronome, I very quickly was able to break down the theory in the rhythm, and then I just quantized. So this is what it sounds like when you look at it visually in real time. So at start of bar 9 is where I kick in the chimes. Then the strings play through, and then it transitions into the 3 instruments I use to layer out my harmony. So I layered the harmony using the dream strings, using a harp, which is layered on its own with a violin, and then this really kind of cool sort of dance-like rhythm. And that dance-like rhythm, yeah, there it is, really made it easy to write the music, because once I had that section written in harmonically, I was able to kill the metronome and just write the rest of the music in real time to just that rhythm. There we go. I'm trying to get this set up so you can just hear what it sounds like rhythmically. So you can see why it made it really easy to just play this live to this as my metronome and not the actual clicking. And this just repeats over and over and over throughout the music, with the exception of moving into a bridge. I did shift the notes down. And then all I had to do on top of that was layer a harp. So let me bring that in so you can hear what that sounds like. And if you listen carefully, you can hear that violin sort of in the background when the harp plays. And that does the same thing until I hit the bridge, and then of course I changed that up slightly too by just duplicating the pattern, making it unique, and then moving some notes around. So when I play... you can hear that violin playing along very subtly to each of these notes. But I have the velocities turned pretty low on these, so the violin is there if you listen carefully, but it's subtle. So to an untrained ear, they really are unnoticeable. And then all I had to do on the harmony to really kind of fill it in was just add the dream strings and to complete it out. So it didn't I don't know how to describe it. It just sounds more full now with the dream strings layered at the bottom. It sounds like a full, complete orchestra to me. And then all I had to do for the harmony, you notice that they're titled Harmony P1, so I just put P for pattern. And then, where is it? It's in here somewhere. There you are. Pattern 2 is the bridge that I wrote, and I slightly changed the notes around a little bit, so it sounds sort of more unique, and it's exactly how I heard the harmony when I was on my camping trip. For some reason, harmony is the easiest thing in my head to write. It's writing the melody and the rhythm that's the hardest. So notice how the harmony changed. I change it up with the harmony. And that repeats 3 times all the way through before I go back into the original pattern that I had sampled prior to this one, the Harmony P1, which is actually titled Harmony P3 because even that has some ever so slightly unique changes to it because I added in a harp when I add the drum loop. Well, actually it's not a drum. Well, it's a drum loop because it does loop, but it's a drum rhythm I actually wrote. Whereas in Hail to the King, I actually used a drum loop. Because I don't have the plugins that I really want to create that kind of an epic drum loop, so I just sampled one. And then I wrote all the music around it. So moving on. Next, after the harmony, came adding the piano, and this was a very easy, simple piano melody. In the first section, I repeat the same pattern twice, and then I made a unique one from that, changed some notes, repeat that twice, and then I go into a bridge with the piano. Where are you? I know what's in here. Yeah, this small segment right here where the mouse is moving around. So let me go on ahead and bring that up. Now this should only be just a piano. Let's check. Yep, okay. So this was sort of difficult to, what's a good way to describe it? Find the flaw that I put in here and I didn't realize was here. And when you play the whole piece of music with everything layered, this is almost unnoticeable. You really have to listen for these 3 subtle notes or so to be missing by the piano, because harmony, the dance rhythm, and the harp fill in for those notes, so it's almost unnoticeable. But if I play this, you'll notice right here, I think it is, I'm missing a note. Somewhere right over here, I'm missing a note. And I think somewhere up here, I was missing a note. But when you layer everything, that's an unnoticeable mistake. Those notes weren't supposed to be missing. But when I had the harmony playing after I wrote the piano melody, it was unnoticeable at first. And then I realized, you know what, I kind of like the way that sounds with those piano notes missing. So I decided just to leave them out. I did experiment and I did add them, and I kind of liked it better with them missing. So, because it kind of gave the melody by the piano sort of some uniqueness, I guess, in a way. And then pattern 2 is almost identical. You'll notice it looks, where'd it go? There we go. It sounds almost identical, but you'll notice there are some slight changes. Okay, your missing notes flag in my head is going off every time I hear that. And then doing the bridge literally was just a piece of cake, because once I had all the harmony sort of dance-like synth that I added in there, really made it easy to just visually see where I needed to actually place all my notes. So moving on, the last, no, you know what, I will show the cello. I honestly don't like the cello in this plugin. It's really not very realistic. It worked because it's layered with a bunch of other stringed instruments and whatnot, but by itself, it just sounds like it's clipping and horrible all by itself. Come on, I want you to play just by itself. Yeah, okay. And even that had to be broken down into its own second unique pattern in order to work in the second section, because I do change the harmonic pattern into the pattern that was used for the bridge. Oops, that's not what I wanted you to do. and then it just repeats itself until the fade in kicks in at the end. And then writing the drum rhythm, this is actually not the original drum rhythm that was used when I wrote this in 2015. There were more downbeats here at the beginning. I don't know if it'll... Oh, go away. It can't... It won't let me add it. I don't like you, bad computer. The reason it won't let me add it now is because it's locked to cells, and I can't freely move it around to make it work. But anyway, the downbeat originally when I wrote this was a little too busy, and it didn't work. And then originally I had the... I'm not a drummer, so I forget what you call these, snares or something like that. And that's all I had, were just the downbeat and these up here. So a few days prior to actually releasing the completed version of this on YouTube, I added the claps, and then I added these little sort of what sound like hi-hats. And it took me a second to listen to this rhythm over and over to kind of figure out what would work with where I should position each of these rhythmically in the drum beat. Because I didn't want too many of them, because I didn't want to make it sound too busy with hi-hats. It just... When I originally heard the music on the camping trip, I didn't even hear hi-hats. It was a very basic drum beat. But I also noticed theory-wise that there were flaws with it, so that's why I went back and cleaned this up. And being as how I never released the music in 2015, only a few people knew about this piece. I showed it to a few friends. That gave me the freedom to make any changes I want. Because once I released it on YouTube, I went, okay, once I do that, I can't change anything, so I better fix this drum beat the way that it should be, where I'm happy with it, before I release it. Because once I make that release, I can't make the change. Well, I can. It's my music. I can do what the hell I want with it. But why change it? I like it. It works. So this is what it sounds like. Oh, you know what? I need to actually change the solo in order to make that work. There we go. Oh wait, no, maybe I didn't have to do that. Oh, it was muted anyway, so yeah, I did. And then that just repeats over and over until it fades out. So with that said, let me switch over, because if I sample this in this recording, my mic's going to pick up my headphones. And when this plays all the way through, I don't want that bleeding through the mic channel. So let me go here, mute the microphone, and then I will sample this all the way through so you can see how all the patterns look. So let me switch over, mute the mic. Let me get the playhead where it needs to go, so when I hit the space bar, this starts where it should. And that's Streams pretty much in a nutshell. Not much went into that piece. It sounded complex in my head because I hear the strings heavily layered, you know, as in like violin sections and cello sections and whatnot. But when it comes to MIDI, you can just with the single... Hold on, I gotta turn the magnifier here back on. With just the single push of a button on a keyboard. That was way quiet for some reason. There we go. I don't know why. Glitch. Bugs in FL Studio I cannot explain. So anyway, as I was saying, with just the single push of a key on the keyboard, you know, I can make the whole sound of an orchestra in just one note. And then just layer all I have to do is then just start layering the notes to really make it full. Okay, although you gotta be careful because certain notes just will really bottom out and it just sounds really bad. So you find the range for the MIDI instrument that sounds good before it just sounds really like it's bleeding over frequencies and just is impossible. No stringed instrument could ever play a note that low. And then, you know, layer the notes on top as well on the treble clef. So that's behind the scenes to how I created Dreams. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed creating it, especially since this was a heck of a challenge for a video. Recording-wise, there was very few things I had to fix. It was the fact that I used my cell phone for the segments with me, my lavalier mic, all that went well, because my cell phone shoots much better in low lighting than the web camera. And I got to use my lavalier mic, so synchronizing that video and the audio were very easy to do. It was synchronizing the web camera on the keyboard with the OBS footage, and iMovie just decided to have a huge, major audio syncing issue with my OBS footage. I don't know what happened. The footage from OBS, for some reason, streamed perfectly in sync, as long as I didn't detach the audio in iMovie. But the second I exported all of the audio tracks from OBS into Audacity and did my edits and then mixed all that together into one MP3 and dropped it back into iMovie, there was no way to synchronize that audio. I did the whole clap at the beginning and I lined it all up perfectly in iMovie, but as the footage of OBS played, the external audio track became to go out of sync further and further along as the video played. So I don't know what happened. It said on the video footage for OBS that it was 37 minutes and 31 seconds long. So I import all that into iMovie, and the timeline for some reason said it was 2 seconds longer than it really should have been. And I'm assuming maybe there was something wrong with how it was reading the file. That might be why I was having syncing issues. So I fixed that by using Windows Movie Maker. I found an old version online who Microsoft no longer supports Windows Movie Maker. It's they even pulled the download off their website. From what I could tell, I had to go to I forgot where I downloaded it. But anyway, I downloaded the Windows Live Essentials and got Windows Movie Maker that way. So once I had Windows Movie Maker take a shot with the external audio and the original OBS footage, it all synchronized perfectly. So I went, well, props to Windows Movie Maker. I don't know why iMovie was having a freaking heart attack with the footage. So once I fixed all that, I then imported the export from Movie Maker into iMovie, and then I used the webcam footage and synchronized it up, and it synchronized perfectly with my clap. So after, like hours and hours of editing and cutting and this and that, I managed to like cut out nearly 6 to 7 minutes worth of footage or something like that. I finally got the clip clean as possible. I did notice I made a few mistakes. Some I was able to edit out, others I just went, I'm not recording this again. I had to record it twice that night. I did the footage because the first time through, I noticed, I went, where's my desktop audio? Uh-oh. So I went, screw it, let's do it again. So I did it again, and then I ran into the iMovie issue. So I'm very glad that I was able to at least salvage the second attempt. Just a mental note next time to try and fiddle around with OBS and the footage that it creates and play around with it in iMovie and see if I can figure out if it's still doing it or if it was just one of those flukes with this particular clip. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I sure as heck enjoyed making it because I really got to have some fun with syncing up audio, external audio, and the video clip. I see people doing that all the time, and it really actually, I prefer doing it this way. For example, I used, I could have had the web camera set up with OBS as well and then just layered the individual channels, video channels, the inputs. So that way the web camera was in a specific corner on the screen while the OBS Windows capture of the FL Studio window was, in full screen. But I wanted to have the luxury of controlling very easily in post where that window for the keyboard was on the screen at any given frame in the video. So say something was on screen and it turned out that I had the webcam showing and it covered it up. I can't fix that in post because it was already recorded that way, with the window there, and I don't like that. So I'm glad this actually was all salvageable. So anyway, thank you for watching this, and if I write something cool again that I enjoyed and want to showcase it, expect it in my blog eventually. School starts up for college here again in like 3 weeks, so things may slow down because I have my last physics class, and that's going to be hell. So all my time is going to be invested into surviving that. So anyway, peace out.